stage over here, ain't it?
Check out the tabs.
Yeah. I can't pull it off. I know my limitations. That is my limitation. Is my what? It was black. No comment.
On that note, we're joined by today's winner, Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 22 Discount Tire Ford. This is Brad's first victory at Texas Motor Speedway, his 8th top 5 finish in Nationwide Series competition here at TMS. His 6th win in 8 starts in Nationwide Series races this season. Your car looked strong there late. Talk about your run.
Yeah, it was strong. Discount Tire Ford Mustang from the get-go just took off fast, and it looked like it was going to be a classic battle between the 54 and us, and I guess that would have probably ended in a good or bad way. But obviously it didn't shape out that way. Some circumstances played out with the way the yellows fall, and we had to not take tires, and trying to get through that scenario was really, really difficult. So we made it through. Obviously the 54 did not, and the 18 and 20 were the cars up front, and we kind of had shuffled at that point. But I think the team did a great job of getting us to where we could utilize our strengths, which was having a fast car and being able to get through traffic fairly well. And we utilized those strengths to perfection at the end to get back by the 18 and the 20. And I think that was some pretty good Texas side-by-side racing. This track in particular with the asphalt and tire combination, the cars are just really, really squirrely, which I think is great. It kind of falls right into my style. So you got to be really up on the wheel. You got to be smooth and really understand your car and how to drive it to run well here, which I think is that to me what racing's supposed to be about. So I hope they never have to repave this place, but I'm starting to really take a liking to it.
Also joined by winning crew chief Jeremy Bullins. Talk about the work that the team put in to get this car hooked up.
Well, we've been talking about it all week. To be honest with you, we hung out with him with the truck, talked about things there that we learned, and tried to put our heads together. And we know that going into the last 3 weeks that we've got to continue to improve to do what we need to accomplish in the next 3 weeks. And felt like we had a decent car yesterday in practice, not the best car. Put our heads together again, made some changes overnight, and felt pretty good about it at the beginning of the race, and just tried to manage it from there. These nationwide races are tough, trying to manage your tires, and when you're in our situation, you're trying to make sure you have good tires at the end. The guys, you could tell the points racers were saving a set of tires, and the guys that aren't really racing for anything did what they should have done and put tires on there. So we kind of had to take our licks there and know that greener pastures were going to come later, and it all worked out when it was said and done.
Let it open up for questions. Jim?
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. You are, with 2 races left, Brad, you're obviously going to play a large role in whether or not the 22 pulls out the win in the owner's title. Not the championship I'm sure you wish you were competing for, but is it some consolation to be trying to play a role in providing Roger another championship and helping Jeremy finish the season off?
Yeah, like you said, it's I wanted to compete for both championships. I didn't want it to be just one, and I certainly don't want to trade. But it kind of is what it is at this point. You just move on and do the best you can with the circumstances. And I think we've had some great runs this year. This is my 6th win in the nationwide car. I think AJ has 2 and Joey has 4. Is that right? I can't remember the math.
So, yeah.
Is that right?
Sounds right.
But he's only got 1 race left, so I can't wait to rub that in. I
can't believe you haven't already.
Yeah. Oh no, maybe it was 3 because Blaney won 1.
Yeah, that's right. 3.
Yeah. All right, but I can't remember what I was talking about. But I dug us a hole there at Kansas with obviously getting tangled up there, and we lost some points. So it's great to be able to recover from that hole, grow a little bit of a lead. But 2 races are a long ways left, and 22 points is, it's better than nothing, but it's certainly not a guarantee of anything as well. So obviously I'll be running the car next weekend at Phoenix, and then Joe Logano will finish out at Homestead. So, but to get back to your point, it's about Roger, like you said. It's about getting him something he hasn't done, and I take a lot of pride in that. When I came to drive for him, he didn't have any NASCAR championships, and that was not a point escaped on me or really any of you guys in the media. And together we've, I guess you could say won 3 if you count the Sprint Cup owners and drivers, and then the nationwide drivers. And I think it's somewhat an incomplete feeling to not have that nationwide owners title, and at least it is for me. So I want to finish that off and be a part of it. So it is. It's been rewarding so far. It's not over, but if we were to win it, it would be very rewarding for me personally to be a part of providing that for Roger.
Chris.
I'll let you go first. Ladies first.
Lee Spencer Fox.
What a guy.
Isn't he? He's a mission candidate like you, right? Anyway, you tied your record of 6 nationwide wins. You did it in just 14 starts. You get some sort of, I don't know, pride out of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like stats because I feel like you can twist stats to your favor, and they don't really tell the whole story. But if there's one that I do like, that's it. The car's been really strong this year, and that's something that will really stick out for me. I think Ford has an excellent package for this nationwide side, and a lot of that, credit goes to Doug Yates and his group, his Roush Yates engine. So, which I think is, kind of another story about the potential that the Ford product has, and being on the first year together, I only see things getting stronger. But those are the things that I look at, Lee. I don't really sit and count the win totals and that. What I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm interested in doing the best I can every time I get behind the wheel. And for me as a driver, I still evaluate my day from the perspective of, if our equipment was 5th and I ran 4th, it's a good day. Or if it was 10th and you run 2nd, that's a great day. You try as a driver to just outpace your equipment, and that's what I take pride in. And obviously, being able to execute with a winning car is something you take pride in as well. But so like I said, I think there's more to the story than winning percentage or whatever you want to call that. The cars have been great, and that's not always a reflection of me. That's a reflection of the group.
And can you give us what your prediction is with the tires tomorrow?
I think this track is becoming more abrasive. There's a great case to be made for the zone tread tire that we ran in Atlanta to be used here and give us a little more margin. We did not see any issues in Cup practice, and the issues that we did see today or with cars that tried to execute more than one fuel run on a set of tires. The tires are obviously made to run one fuel run. So, every time there's a tire issue, the tendency is to go right to Goodyear and point the finger, but sometimes you have to look at yourself.
Chris.
Chris Knight, GetStress.com. First, Spartans are leading. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Can you talk about your plans for Nationwide next year in 2014, and then also about your Cup car tomorrow? Can you sync up the show between Johnson and Kenseth and maybe make it 2 out of 3?
Yeah, I think as of right now, it's really early to talk about nationwide plans, but I can say that I would expect it to be very similar to what we did this year, with maybe Ryan Blaney running a few more races, but it's really early, and I don't want to jump the gun on letting Penske announce that themselves. But as far as the Cup race is concerned, I think we're really strong. I think we've got a great shot at it. I think there's probably about 3 or 4 cars, and whichever one gets the lead at the end is going to probably win. I guess that's obvious, but whichever one gets the lead, in the last restart, last pit cycle, either one of those two is probably going to win the race. So, I think the 20 car, myself, the 18 and the 48 are all really strong, and we might be just a touch stronger than them, but it's hard to say. But I'm interested to see and really excited. I'm just kind of kicking myself because I think we got a great shot at winning tomorrow, and I wish I would have done a better job yesterday to have a shot at pulling off all three, but so it goes.
Holly?
Holly K, NASCAR.com.
Hi, Holly.
Hello, Brad. This is actually a question very similar to Lee's, and that is just kind of, what is the feeling like to get into a car that you know has had so much success, that you have just won so much in? I mean, does it almost feel like second place is a bad day at this point because you did so well in it? And if you could just talk about, just the feeling of being in a car at this level of racing where it stands so much chance to win.
It's hard to put that in context in the moment. I think that's something to reflect upon when the season's over or maybe a couple seasons later. And from that perspective, I remember getting in cars that I had no shot in hell of ever winning in. So it feels a little bit balanced from that perspective, from a career perspective. But it's hard to appreciate it in the moment because all you can think about in the moment is don't screw it up. You got the best car. Don't screw it up. And when you win, it's almost more of a relief that you didn't screw it up. But it still obviously is a lot of fun. And, it's something that I'm obviously very privileged to have an opportunity to do.
We'll go here to Jerry, and then we'll go have a question in the press box.
Yeah, Jerry Fraley, Dallas Morning News. Brad, are you in a groove right now at the two top levels?
In a groove? In what sense?
To use another sport comparison, a baseball hitter like Big Papi Ortiz was hot in the playoffs. Are you hot right now?
I don't know if that's fair to say about myself, I think that this particular track, I finally found what I need as a driver to run well here, to be competitive. I think that Phoenix as well is a track that I look for us to be exceptionally strong at. We've hit what we need to be competitive on both the Cup and the nationwide programs and to really win out the next few races. That said, there are still weaknesses in my game that I realize, and thankfully those are past us for this season.
Of the press box.
Question for the crew chief, Jeremy Bullins, Wolfgang Munzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. I had the impression that watching both cars, Brad's and Sam Hornish cars, they had nearly identical speed. How identical was the setup? Can you tell anything about that?
Normally they're pretty close. Today, not so much. Like I said, we Brad and myself talked about some things this week, decided to try to better ourselves a little bit, and we tried something that we tried to refine an old setup, basically, and, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward, and went through a couple of nights of digging through old notes to try to figure some things out for this weekend. And so, today I would say 50% close, probably not as close as normal, but nevertheless, it's a matter of giving both drivers what they need, and sometimes that takes something a little bit different.
Put in Bob and then Reed.
Bob Hocker, Sporting News. Brad, you talk about maybe a sense of relief, just not screwing it up. How much more angst is there kind of the day after? I assume last night you kind of figured you screwed it up.
Yeah, I definitely screwed it up last night, yeah.
And if you screwed it up today, would that have any bearing on your psyche for tomorrow?
Absolutely. It's momentum for sure. There is a case to be made for it. Momentum and confidence in this sport are, I think, crucial to any driver, to any team. And I think you see that, as the gentleman over there was alluding to, in more than just racing. But you do things differently. You act differently, and your decisions are made in a different mentality when you have confidence. And that's across the group. So when you have failures, it can certainly pull you back. This program, I think, is a perfect example of momentum because when a practice session is done and it might not have gone as well as we want, we still all believe and we make smart decisions accordingly. And that's because of that success that we've had earlier in the year, and I think it just turns into a snowball and rolls down the hill until it's a snowman or whatever you call it. But there's a lot to be said for that, and I feel like we've got some really strong momentum at both programs, Nationwide and Cup side at Penske Racing. And like I said, I honestly feel like we can win out.
Great.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. You've raced against Matt and Jimmy all year long. If you're handicapping the championship at this point, who's going to win and why?
I would say Matt, because he has the strongest pit crew on pit road, and we've seen that track position as ascertained on pit road is critical, and that will probably win him the chase. That's my gut.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Jeremy, with your record this year, just kind of wondering what your contract situation looks like, because I'm thinking that your phone's probably ringing off the hook.
My plan is to do this again. That was the deal when we signed up to do it last year, and I'm looking forward to racing this car again next year. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty good gig, so looking forward to the opportunity to try to have another year like this, and I think we've got the opportunity in front of us.
Are you under contract for next year, though? I mean, have you
Yes.
already signed? Okay. And
Damn, I hope so. Yeah.
And
Now
Bra-
we're going to have another discussion.
and Bradley, if I can take you away from Twitter for just a minute.
How do you know it's Twitter? Could be like Snapchat or something.
I don't know. RP just told me that he wasn't invited to come to the media center, which kind of surprises me. but-
Really?
Yeah.
He just asked me out to dinner.
Well, good for you. Anyway, do you think that this
He didn't
year's
say where. Did he tell you? In and out, yeah. Yeah. That's good. That saves more money for him to pay for me. Yeah.
do you think this championship rivalry is too friendly of a rivalry? I mean, those two riding off in a golf cart together, into the sunset yesterday, and sharing comments back and forth and text back and forth. Is this just kind of too friendly of a rivalry?
Too friendly a rivalry
between
for who?
Kenseth
For
and
me?
Johnson?
For you?
I don't know, just for the masses in general. I mean, do we just want to see a couple? I mean, here's Jeremy in the black hat. Do we want to see two guys in a white hat, fighting it out into Homestead?
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it's there's two different perspectives, and it comes back to who's paying the bills. In this sport right now, the business model is sponsors, and with that business model, you'd be a fool to alienate half the fan base over a rivalry, because half the fan base pays your bills and pays your sponsors' bills. So indirectly, they pay your bills. In today's sport, you can't feuds. It reminds me of this Confucius thing I read the other day, that a man who lives a life of revenge dig two graves, one for him, one for the next guy. And that's how this sport is right now. You can't really have a rivalry with a popular driver, because what happens is their fans nag on your fans and vice versa, and they get on social media or whatever site you can have and tell their sponsors how you're the biggest a-hole, how they'll never buy your product, and then you don't have a sponsor. Or you lose value, and then when you lose value, your team can't compete. It just doesn't work. So with that being said, and with sponsors paying so much of the direct bill to cover the sport, I think it's unrealistic to expect anything different.
Carlotta and then Chris.
Carlotta Schmicken, lottasports.com. Brad, you have raced here twice this year. The best of both worlds, night racing, day racing. Which one do you like better and why?
I like the ones where my car's fast. Those are the ones I like. Other than that, I really don't care. It looks cooler under the light. I guess, under the daytime or, lights lit up. But I was thinking about that in Victory Lane because the fire looks really cool at night. Other than that, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to race as hard as I can. The cars seem to slip around pretty much the same daytime to night. So
Okay, what about
I'll make it work.
toward the end of the race, the sun is coming across and the shadows, the sunshine, the shadow. Now, Denny Hamlin said if you have a dirty windshield, that could impact you.
Absolutely.
But do you find it's a distraction going in and out of those shadows?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge distraction, but this isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard, and the funny thing about racing is it feels like an infinite set of variables, and at Texas that's one of them, and overcoming those variables is what to me is part of the challenge of being an elite race car driver, an elite race team. And I think that's a good thing because the cream of the crop should always rise to the top, and it does so when you throw in, variables of that nature.
Chris, and then Mark.
Chris Knight, catchfans.com again. I was hoping I could touch on BKR for a quick second. I spoke to Ross Chastain yesterday. He was emphatically upbeat and confident about Phoenix next weekend. He thinks that is his race to win, and he says he's taking the same truck he ran really well with at Iowa. Can you talk about having someone like Ross in your stables? He came from SS Greenlight Racing and came over to you, and you guys have really helped him mature into a strong, confident, and race contending driver.
Yeah, well, I think we've got a growing pattern over there. A lot of growing pains too with the trucks and trying to make them faster and win races. Ryan Blaney was able to win a race, and Ross, who drives the other truck along with me, and Joey Logano. Ross has run really strong at Martinsville and Iowa, like you said, and had a shot at winning and come up a little bit short for circumstances that were kind of beyond his control. But I'm proud of their efforts, and hopefully I can be a part of Ross's first win.
Over here.
Steve Richards of PRN. Brad, you answered Reed's question about predicting the Cup championship. What about nationwide? Can Sam overcome a 6-point deficit?
I didn't know much about where it was at. I mean, I think it's anyone's race over on nationwide, so it should be a good 2 weeks.
Sturp.
I don't really have a prediction. I honestly think it's a dead heat.
Yeah, Brad. John Sturbin, RacingToday.com. Can you comment about Sam having to race for a championship as a lame duck driver and how difficult that is just to go through all that?
Well, I don't know much about Sam's status of where he's going from here or what his plans are. So I hesitate to use those terms specifically. But I can tell you that it's great to see him have an opportunity to win a championship. I think his destiny is in his own hands if he can pull that off. And I'm excited about helping him out if he needs it to be able to do that.